Hello, it's Jacqueline, and we are on to an amazing workshop, course, lesson plan, load of information, whatever you want to call this. This is what we got going on, and I am so incredibly thrilled and proud to be here with you. The topic is creating space with angels. This is going to be led by me and the four fat cherubs. So, if you haven't heard my other topics, I want you to know that just a little story is I have four fat cherubs over here on my right side. Not sure where I'll be looking when the replay happens, but just visualize the far top right side. If you see me looking over towards this direction, it means that I'm looking at them. They are very communicative and they have been telling me things they want me to talk about. So this is a divine inspiration. This is absolutely a blessing. I have been wanting to teach this topic for years. But as you know, I have been building my other business, which I recently sold. And so now I have a chance to dive into all of these deeper topics that I've been sharing and guiding clients with, but on a one-to-one basis over many years. And this is our opportunity. And when I say our and I say we, I refer to the angels and myself working with you. So even though you are not necessarily hearing this live, I want you to know that the angels know exactly who is going to listen to this workshop. They know who is showing up. They know who cares and wants more. So this message is for you. This message was inspired by you. This message was created for you. So here I am sharing so much with you. Let me give you a little pre-story of why this topic is especially important. I grew up in Dunthorpe, an area just outside of the Portland metro area. We had a Lake Oswego phone number and a Portland zip code, and it's in Oregon. It's a beautiful, affluent community. It was an amazing upbringing. And there were just so many kids in the family. My parents eventually had to remodel and make a second staircase because of the 8 children. Two brothers passed away, so there are 6 kids of us, and since then, both my parents have passed. And we grew up with lots of beautiful things, lots of big family gatherings, lots of incredible time together, along with lots of loss, lots of changes. The age range in our family is 18 years. So there was always kids coming in, friendships, family dynamics, relatives visiting. And there was always an energy of life and excitement. And my mother was a busy lady, that is for sure. So as she built the home, and my dad and her were building a family, they loved antiques. They loved something that was pretty cool for them to be ahead of their time to want something that wasn't necessarily super common then. But we all inherited an abundance of beautiful antiques, beautiful tables and chairs and jewelry armoires, and so many incredible stories wrapped around these experiences. So when I was 18, the family dynamics changed. Parents went through a divorce, and my mom needed to move to a smaller home. Well, leaving a prestigious community was very difficult to do that publicly. So I remember that my mom had the realtor not put a sign out in front of the house. There was no for sale sign. She had to keep it on the down low and private that the house was even for sale because we didn't really want to leave. We financially needed to leave. It was a smart thing, anyways, because half the kids were already gone and on their own. But it was a time that was so important where pride overran everything else. So while mom's realtor was doing this quietly, she also was looking for a home that would still hold the important furniture items that the big mansion held for us in a smaller home. So when we went around the Lake Oswego neighborhood looking for a home to move into, it always started with, will the dining room table fit? Because that's where all the gatherings were. That's what the priority was focused on. So I remember so vividly these different houses we went into, and mom was like, nope, not enough room for the table. Next house, next house. So that was the deciding factor. She ended up buying a wonderful home, which ironically, I ended up buying from the family estate when she passed away, and I continued carrying the legacy. So I ended up inheriting the big, huge dining room table, along with the big, huge beach table that we had had when we used to have a home in Seaside, Oregon. And we all got to keep a few items from that when we had to sell that home with her passing. So here I had two big, huge tables that didn't fit in any of my other families, my sister's or my brother's home. And I ended up having them because they already fit the house. They had possession over everybody else. And then I inherited a variety of paintings and artwork and beautiful pieces. But everything we got in that home was the big stuff, the big, big stuff. Well, when my marriage ended, I went and rented a really big house because that house was going to hold the furniture. That house had a big enough garage for everything. I was spending so much money holding all this furniture. And of course, I had three children, but we didn't need that big of a house. We needed to downsize, and that wasn't an easy thing for me to do because I was used to the possessions dictating a lot of where you were and what you had. And so the story continues. I will bring up parts of the story throughout the time that I am sharing this workshop. This is what's so important is that we all come from our past. We all live in the present, and we have a future that we're moving towards. And in order to feel empowered, enriched, and excited about what's possible, we need to start learning how to shift in certain perspectives. So let's get our intentions aligned. I love this. So, our opening prayer. Angels of clarity and peace, thank you for guiding me to this moment. I welcome your wisdom as I honor my past, ground in my present, and invite the future I desire. May this process be blessed, intentional, and loving. I am open to your signs and truth. I surrender the clutter in my mind, body, space, and soul. I invite freedom. I invite grace. I am ready. I might be waiting up to say a few times. I love that. I want you to pause, take a deep breath, and anchor into this. This is us. We're working together. Oh, I already have goosebumps going with the angels. So, wow, you can feel emotions coming up. If you start feeling it, just let it flow. Let it be real. This is big. This is important. This is powerful. All right, reflection. Why am I here today? What is my intention in showing up? And how do I want to feel when I complete this process? Take some time as you took a little pre-work with the pre-homework. I hope you got that done ahead. If not, pause right now and go back to the pre-homework. But this is where you get to start writing down. You get to understand, why are you here? What is drawing you to this? Why do you want to create space with angels? This is something for you. This is for you to look at and understanding, why are you showing up? Where is this going? What are the intentions? You have to have a plan and thoughts and process. You might not know the steps, but knowing the motivation behind it will keep you with so much more clarity and momentum, inspiration. So yeah, this reflection is going to be so important during this whole process together. So module 1, listening to the stories of your space. Begin by observing, not fixing. This is about awareness. So our prayer for this first module is, angels, help me see with clear eyes. Let me witness my space without judgment. Let me recognize what holds love, what holds weight, and what no longer represents who I am becoming. This is so important because, just as I said in the beginning, so many of my decisions were based on everybody else's feelings and what items I needed to have and what stories needed to come with them. And we all have our own perceptions. So this is why the assignment is to walk through your space silently. Don't move anything. Anything. That's not going to be easy, I know. Ask, what energy is here and what story is this room telling? This is so big. Even in my dating coaching, I'm often telling people to stop and look at your place. Does it invite somebody to want to come and cuddle up on the couch with you? Does it invite an energy that you're single and available and wanting new love in there? Or does it show that you're busy, you're cluttered, you're distracted, you don't have anything? What story is the room telling? Your main story of it, or the main room you want to be in? Take some time for this answer to come to you. So the journal prompts: what surprised me the most? What emotion keeps showing up? And what story am I tired of repeating in my home? This is a big part because we all have these childhoods. Some people moved a lot. Some people lived with different people growing up. Some people didn't have home security. And some people have never moved and never lived beyond a small radius of where they grew up. So this is where you need to stop and pause. The angel whisper, your belongings speak before you do. Let them echo your truth. I don't know. This is probably one of my most favorite statements. Of course, the angels are so brilliant. Your belongings speak before you do. Let them echo your truth. Someone walks in your home, doesn't matter what you're saying or doing, they immediately assess your environment. They immediately see where your thoughts are, what's important to you. What are you prioritizing? What are you putting up? And showing what is the attention getter. This is a big one. Module 2. What do you admire in others' spaces? This is so important because, there's so many people that watch the Home and Garden channel. They're always watching home improvements. They are watching, whether it's decorations or home building. And we're always just curious what other people do. People love to go to open houses, even if they're not buying. They just want to check it out. I was walking down the street the other day and this guy was pointing out a sink in this window of a bar that she liked. And she was like, "Oh, I really like that sink." And I was like, "Okay." And she's like, "Oh, well, we're about to remodel. So I'm noticing these details." And I was like, "Oh, there was a reason. There was a momentum of catching her eye." So observe the spaces you are drawn to in real life, TV shows, and memories. Sometimes you got to go back to that childhood. I can remember Grandma O in Hanford, California, had a very powerful pink chair that we inherited. And she sat there when it was cocktail hour, and you had to be a certain age to be in the room, with her big, huge, beautiful rug and the chairs around the edges where you could enjoy your cocktail when it was time. Grandma O approved. And so there was a story that came with all of that energy, of that furniture, of that space. And so, we have the memories at all stages of our lives, but where are we now and where do we want to go? So the prayer for this section is: angels of vision and clarity, let me see the beauty in what I admire. Help me gather inspiration that aligns with my next chapter, not my past. You can keep your past, just take with it that is healthy, productive, and uplifting. The possibilities are amazing. So this is a big assignment. Remember, this is to do at your own pace. So I'm going to give you a lot of information in this course, but you are going to break it down at the pace you are most comfortable with and come back to this recording anytime. So visit or recall 3 to 5 homes, places that you love. Maybe get quiet in meditation. Maybe it is you're going to identify what you're drawn to and what you resist, and use magazines, Pinterest, or real life inspiration. So do your own searching, go to your friends' houses, do the steps of what you are being called to and pulled to. This is so important because we have dreams all the time. The other day, I was sending a message to a childhood friend. Her mom and my mom were best friends. And I remember how this family, another huge, big family, good Catholic family, and they had a big, huge dining room table. Theirs was big and round. Like passing something across the table was a big feat. And of course, as a little girl, probably wasn't as big, but my memory is that it was a really big table. She, the mother, loved to make soft-boiled eggs. And I absolutely loved it. It was the only place I ever had them. She had these little cups that would hold the egg. They were so cute and adorable. She put a little soft egg in there, or a soft boiled egg, and then you tap the shell, take the lid off, and then scoop it out with this teeny little spoon. for some wild reason, that popped in a dream of mine the other day, and I just had to tell my childhood friend about it. So, all of these memories are still real, they are so raw, and they are always there. They are so important for who we are and our journey that got us to what's next. I want you to give yourself credit to acknowledge, accept, and celebrate these stories too. So, the journal prompts: what qualities feel like me? What am I craving more of in my space? Your home could be looking like it did when you were married, but it's no longer a reflection of who you are now. Maybe at one point you enjoyed a lot of heavy wood items like my family did growing up. Now maybe you don't need as much of that. I remember many years ago, I was looking for some side gigs when I had a little baby, my third child, and I wasn't really working very much and I wanted to make some money. I put some signs up around the apartment complex, little tags to pull off near the mailbox. And this one lady reached out and said, "Hey, I'm redesigning my apartment." And so she was going from one theme, very like glass top table, very minimalist, to another theme. And I thought, you get to choose that? You get to change that? I just thought you just kept whatever your family gave you and was passed down generational, and that was just kind of required. Well, she didn't have any close family, so that was never a situation. When my mom passed away, us six kids and my dad were still able to pretty much furnish our homes because we had so many items in that home, because the original home was so much bigger. And then when we had to downsize due to financial and my parents' divorce, the items still came with us. We just were a lot more tightly woven in. And then with the passing, each person in the family that was still living got quite a few items. And so that's just what we grew up with. And that was powerful to realize that this lady didn't have that. And she just wanted a new theme, wanted a whole new color palette. And it always amazed me. So, the angel whisper for this one: admiration is a mirror. What you notice in others is available to you too. You get to pick this. Go look at what you like. Go see what you enjoy. The more that I've been living in Playa del Carmen, Mexico, I want brighter colors. I was in a place back in the States that I was renting, and I moved in there just through a FaceTime, and turned out it was very dark green, horribly painted. And even though I didn't own the place, I spent a whole lot of money cleaning this place up to be brighter. And I made one of the rooms this amazing mango color. It was so, oh my God, it was so delicious and gorgeous and wonderful and inviting and exciting. It always felt like the sun was just filling up the room, and I loved it. And it was because of the fact that I had been filled with so much color and light in Mexico that when I went to a place that was dark, I thought, okay, hold on, I have the power. Even though I didn't need to spend the money, I wanted to do it. I wanted to know my space was better. I even went and redesigned the backyard. Of course, it ended up being a waste of money on the long term because I didn't stay there very long, but I made it so I enjoyed, while I was there, my back patio. It was beautiful. Cleaned out all the weeds and the junk. Thankfully, my brother did all of it, and then laid out a pathway and pebbles. And it was just beautiful, 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 beautiful. And I was so happy to have people over to come and enjoy and just invest in my happiness and my rewards. So, you can be in a place that doesn't have it all. You can take some time and effort to just make it the way you like it. It does make a difference. Module 3. Okay. Future focused living. This is where we have to remember we're living to build towards the next stages. Where are you going in life? Align your environment with your goals. Let's stop living in the past to where it's not nurturing us. It's telling too many old stories. The prayer for this: angels of direction and destiny, show me what's aligned with the future I desire. Help me let go of what belongs to the past and step boldly toward what is next. Yeah. Emotionally, that's hitting me hard. I've just held on to so many other people's stories for so long. So it's powerful. It's really thinking about what's next. So your assignment: visualize your life 1 year, 3 years, and 5 years from now. Ask, what kind of home supports that version of me? What habits or items belong in the next chapter? For me, when I knew I was going to no longer want to have a home in the States full time, I was going to travel. I made different decisions in my purchasing. I wasn't looking to refresh the couch. I was not looking for a bigger apartment to move into. I was using the space that I had. So the first time that I finally made that commitment and decided it was time to travel more was a big step. I had gone to Mexico in 2020, like a lot of people did, trying to explore. I was able to get my business to be virtual, but I left my whole apartment all put together, just sitting there. At that time, I had lived in an attic above, and it was amazing, above a Vietnamese restaurant that was above multiple offices and a hair salon, an old Victorian house in Northwest Portland in Oregon. And I loved that place. My angels loved it. It was just incredible. The whole top floor was mine. Cute, teeny little apartment that had this little kitchen, my big, huge table from the family kitchen table. It fit in the nook. There wasn't really room to sit around it, but I was going to keep that table from the beach house that was so important to me because that table was built by my first brother that passed away, my brother Andrew. His godfather had built this beautiful table, an amazing woodsman, incredibly crafted carpentry. And so I still have that table because it brings so many wonderful stories. But literally, it was 6 feet, and the opening to that table section underneath the attic angling of the wall and the ceiling was just about 6.5 feet. So you just use it to hold stuff. But I was not letting go of that. And I was fine with that because I knew that was important to me. I had all of these items. Mind you, I still had a few of those boxes in the closet that have yet to be dealt with. But then there came a moment after I came back from my trip and my travels and realized there was a bigger world for me. So my lifestyle was going to be changing. Within about 7 months, I decided to put everything in storage after I got rid of the things that I could let go of. And I had so much support. My youngest son and his now wife, they came and helped. My sister, oldest sister came and helped. All my siblings came together. Everybody was just so proud of me for just putting my life in storage. It was crazy to think my whole life is now in storage. And then I flew and visited with a friend I had actually met in another part of Mexico earlier in 2020 and spent a month with this person that I barely even met. I was just open to the possibilities and had an amazing time just knowing my stuff was fine. My stuff was there. And then I continued from my trip in Boston. I continued and came back to Mexico again. And I remember a few times that in all my travels, I would have moments where I'm like, oh, I miss that item. I miss those things. And then my youngest son, Jonas, would often say, Mom, you've had those things around you for a long time. They're just fine in storage. They'll still be there when you come back. And so I'd have to remind myself what it felt like that I don't have these because, especially as a single mom, I always had to have the home that had room for every single child, all of the friends coming over to visit. All of the activity was under my roof. I was the open door, open fridge mom. I always wanted to make sure kids felt safe to come over and they hung out because then I got to know the friends. I got to be the mom that was very aware of everything, but that came at an expense. Plus, I was the mom paying for multiple cars, multiple insurance, multiple. So by the time the kids all flew the nest and I had the freedom to go do this, I was able to look at my life and say, I got to go do it. I mean, I had my first kid at 20, so I never had a chance to do a lot of these things. So this is part of that alignment. Now, the part is becoming clear and enjoying the experience and being open to knowing your life can change. It can be a different chapter, and certain chapters you are in because that's where your life is meant to be right now. So take some time to think about where are you going? Where is this happening? Where is your relationship, whether you're single or you're in a relationship? Are you guys wanting to downsize? Are you wanting to have a family, but you want it to be your environment, not somebody else's? Okay, now let's go to the journal prompts for this one. What do I want my life to feel like? What is no longer in alignment with that? So we have to think about this, like where we're going matters. what I was doing was I was creating a space that I really liked, but then I had a family that really wanted me to be home. So I would do this repetition. I would put everything in storage. I would go on my travels. I would go explore. And then after 4 or 5 months, my family was like, "Where are you? Why aren't you back?" And I go, "Okay, here, I'm coming back. I'm doing great. I'm just healthy. I'm happy. I'm doing vibrant, life fulfilling things here. But I know you all miss me, so I'm going to come back." I'd leave Mexico. I get everything out of storage. And then I would set up a new home. And then within a few months, I would be very unhealthy. I would be just not as productive. My business didn't grow as well. And I do it all over again. And I was spending so much money setting up homes because then suddenly I was in a bigger place that needed a bigger couch. I was in a place that needed to be painted. It was in a place that now I was living in the city, or whatever it was always a whole lot of money because I was doing it to keep everybody else back home, used to status quo. So this is why I am wanting you to stop and think where you're at. So the angel whisper is let go to grow. You are not your possessions. This wasn't an easy lesson. I did this 3 times. I've done the storage unit, and it's been 3 different sizes and 3 different big lessons where I'm paying all this money for movers to go up the elevator down the hallway. And suddenly, there's another $1,000 on that. Then you're paying for a bigger storage unit because you haven't let go of the items. Well, then you're gone longer. And then suddenly you've got these fees. And then the storage unit places love to keep charging you for more. I have now gotten to where it's pretty small, but it's kind of funny now that I've been away from all of that and I have been living out of a suitcase for a while. I keep thinking of those few things that I was just too tired when I was leaving to bother getting rid of, but I got rid of quite a bit. Like one lady came to pick up a bunch of things, and then all of a sudden my brother was like, "Hey, how about the desk? How about the chair? How about this?" And I was like, "Oh my gosh, thank you, thank you, thank you." I just had so many stories attached to these items. I was still struggling letting go, but then I was also realizing, I have this glass top table that had 2 easels that held it up. And I think my assistant and I bought it for 10, maybe $15. It had been in multiple homes. My youngest son had it. I used it in my office. My friend Michelle had used it in her office, but we didn't even pay 15 tops dollars for it. It served its purpose. But oh my gosh, that was hard to let go of. It fit perfectly in the nook in my last apartment in Portland. There were so many good things, but it was so easily I could get again. It just wasn't worth it to pay movers to haul it out one more time, package it up. And then the lady that I gave it to was elated to have it. She was so incredibly grateful in so many ways. And this is why it's so crucial and so important that we take these steps and these stages. Because the truth of the matter is, these stories are so old. My last apartment that I was in, as I was unloading everything, I was pulling out these 2 giant pictures. Oh my gosh, they're just huge. They were my favorites. Both were of dancing. One was very Victorian dancing theme, and the other one was the black, red, and white dancing. And every time I move, I'd put them up, and I loved it because they filled a good space of the wall, and they were totally my style. But then this last move, I stopped and I looked at them, and I go, why am I doing this again? These are from my ex-husband. One reminded me of our wedding invitation, and the other one reminded me of the time that he was spontaneous and just made a purchase at a cute little shop and got me this beautiful with the guy holding the umbrella and the 2 people dancing. And I was like, every time I put it up, I was telling that story again. And I stopped and I paused and I said, this is ridiculous. I'm not doing this anymore. And I took those and gave them away. And the person, actually, it was the same person who got both of them, was so excited. She even showed up with a chocolate bar to thank me. She was already planning where it was going to go in her home. All this new energy now was going to be able to go with those items. That was so rewarding and so fulfilling. And now when I unpack that storage unit, those stories will no longer pop out because they no longer exist as something I am holding in my space. Yeah. Do you have a few of those? Do you have a few things that have stories attached that nobody would know, but you do? And every time you put them up, every time you dust them, every time you move them to a new room, you play that story again. Those memories, the good times, the specials. they just don't need to be there anymore because you have those memories, you have them, but also you're wanting to make room for new. I can't invite new people in my space if I'm full of all these other stories that are no longer relevant to who I am and where I am going. So, module 4, rituals and scheduling your space journey. This is a lifestyle. It needs rhythm and routine. So the prayer is, Dear angels, guide my calendar and my clarity. Help me create sacred time for the clearing of space so my life flows freely with grace and intention. This is where I want this to become part of your whole life. I kept packing up, unpacking, setting up home, letting go of home, moving, and now I'm at a place where I am a suitcase away from whatever next life chapter I want, and I can do that. It wasn't an easy step. I didn't just jump into it. It was an evolving step. But in order to get to this place, I had to make a decision of consistency. So I was able to ask myself questions and design the life that I wanted in stages, discovering what worked for me. And it's going to be your stage, your decision, your pace. You're going to stop, you're going to start. It's that one step forward, two step back, two steps forward, one step back. You're always doing the dance, but eventually you get your voice in this. But as you're doing it, we want you, the angels and I, to develop a routine of asking yourself questions, getting clear so that you don't get bogged down with so many things again. As soon as I moved into a bigger place after a huge downsize, suddenly I'm spending all this energy getting these furniture and these items. And I remember one of my friends coming to help me, and she got her husband's pickup, and we went and got this couch for this new rental. And I was so excited. It's a beautiful couch. And I do, I love that couch, and I would love to have had it again. But the amount of work it took for her and I to haul this couch into the apartment, it was like, what were we thinking? It didn't fit very well. We had to shove it. And we were both like, this feels like we're giving birth. It is so insane. And then we get this couch. We enjoy the couch. It moves with me again. It goes in storage. The couch wasn't even that much money, but the amount of money I put into the movers and the storage fees, it ended up becoming a very expensive couch. So we have to stop and pause and really think, what are we doing this for? The longevity, is this temporary? Where are we at on this? And what is it going to really cost us? So I want you to think about your routine. I really am a big believer, as you'll learn from my coaching and direction, 90 days is very powerful and the power of a year. So I want you to think about whatever project, whatever transformation you're working on the most, priority, decide, is this going to be something for 90 days? Well, then you need to do it every week. Claim every Thursday, 6 to 8, you work on this. This is just part of your routine, your schedule. This is not, I'll get around to it. This is part of your routine, just like your exercise, just like your sleep, just like your social, just like your work, whatever it is, you pick it. So example, every Thursday, 6 to 8. If this is a year journey, then you're going to do like the first Monday of the month, you're going to tackle a new area. The third Monday of the month, you're going to maintain and revisit your past spaces so that you can keep a good rhythm. So you have more time to make it happen, but you also aren't going and slipping behind on your abilities. That's what's really important. So journal prompts here. What is my timeline for this journey? How will I honor my commitment to clearing and clarity? Angel whisper, routine makes room for miracles. I so believe this. When you are predictable, you have consistency, your angels actually benefit because they like less chaos. They like a plan of action because then they can get to you and talk to you and interact with you. But when you have all of this distraction, you're constantly stop and starting, they don't know when to jump on. I've done angel sessions with clients that have been all over the board, and then all of a sudden their angel will pop up and their arms are crossed and I go, okay, so what's the issue here? Are you not listening to the last homework I gave you? Are you not doing the things? And they're like, this and this and this and this. They have all these distractions. And then the angels will shake their finger and just say, we're just waiting until they're ready to do something. It doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be complete. It just needs to be productive. It just needs to build a little momentum. Whether you take little steps or big steps, just commit to when you're going to do it and what your time frame is, so then you can feel a sense of accomplishment, because that routine will really make a difference. All right. The final clearing prayer. Angels, thank you for helping me honor what to keep, save, and release. Thank you for showing me when to donate without looking back. I honor who I am today, trust who I am becoming tomorrow, and release anything that no longer belongs in my future. With your guidance, I am safe to let go and free to begin anew. Amen. This is where you give that permission. You own this prayer, because we need to know we are doing the right thing. If you're second guessing and you're holding on to all these stories, you're just exhausting yourself. And the angels want to let you know that clearing through this is really a blessing, because you want to make room. Remember, years ago, a friend of mine said, when you're holding on to everything, your hands are full. You can't receive. You have no open hands for it. If you open up, everything will fall out. So you need to let go in order to receive. So important. All right, so final notes and reflection space, just from this initial workshop, because there's going to be some more good details. Biggest aha moment today, your next action step, and how I feel right now. Now that we've talked about this, now that you've done some journaling, now that you've answered some questions, how are you feeling? Be honest, be authentic. You are keeping these answers. This is for you. This is really for you and the angels, because they're listening, they're talking, and they're wondering if they're getting through to you. So I want you to own that information and be ready to receive the release of it, and then move to the next thing. So, angel message, close your eyes and listen. Yeah, no prompts here. This is you. I want you just to write down a little bit what comes to mind, what's coming forward as we're saying these things. So your call of action is to choose your journey. 90-day intensive, one project per week, the 1-year lifestyle shift, monthly themes, and monthly maintenance. What do you think about this? It's really important. So in the bonus part of this amazing workshop, I will be including a 90-day intensive focus. So something you can focus on every week. And I will also be including monthly themes, so that you can just have a different focus and just kind of bite-size it all over based on where you're at on your journey. And this is amazing for you. You'll get both, but I just want you to start thinking ahead of time, which way are you going with your journey? So mark it on your calendar. 90 days, 1 year, weekly, twice a month, you're going to get the work done. You decide. Tell a trusted friend or accountability partner. Better yet, do this workshop with somebody. Let them be part of it. Take before and after pictures just for you. See the transformation. Recently, somebody was telling me how they had gone through a breakup and they wanted to redesign the energy in their space. So he went and completely changed it out. He sent me the before picture, and then he sent me the after picture, and it has such a different vibe to it. And he felt so good. In his comment, he's a bald gentleman, and he goes, I don't have any hair to pull out, so I redesigned my space. And he felt empowered. He felt alive. He felt powerful. So what you're releasing is not just stuff, it's stories, identities, and energy. And what you're calling in is peace, space, and a version of you've been waiting for. I think this is where we come to a place of accepting, celebrating, and honoring. So many times people talk about just get rid of it, just done. My ex used to call it dust collectors. He would write on boxes, it's okay if this breaks, they're dust collectors. Because to him, he didn't understand why I had to pack up all of my little knickknacks. And it was true. I carried around way too many things and too many stories, but it was part of my lifeline. It was part of my sanity. It was part of what kept me grounded into my past. But then there came a time when I realized my past was no longer serving me, and my past wasn't going to be a healthy future, because then I would just repeat the patterns of my past. And that wasn't about me growing. That was me staying the same, me not changing, me being in the exact same place. I remember back in the day when my mom was alive, every New Year's, we would get on the phone and chat, or we'd be together because we only lived a few miles apart from each other. But we'd always talk about where we were the year before in life, the kids, the relationships, the homes, the travels, the dreams. And it was really beautiful. And I remember missing that so much after she passed. But also, I remember how we lived in the past so much when my mom was alive. So much of our lives were based on life before my first brother died and before my second brother died. And thankfully, I had three brothers, so I still have an amazing little brother that I adore. And it was a journey, it was an experience, and we had to go through a lot. But so much of our life has been revolved around the passing of the relatives, not about the new relatives that have come in, and the journey and the cycle of life continuing. And so my traveling and living in Mexico has been difficult because I was there for every family get together, and now I see pictures and I miss things. I miss a lot of the day to day. And then when I come back, everybody's busy, they have their lives. But I had to live for me. I had to find out what my story was. And then I got to meet people that didn't know me for so long, and I could build new stories and new experiences. When we stay in our same social circle, when we stay in our same home, we stay in our same neighborhood, we repeat a lot of our stories. We do not need to leave the home. We do not need to leave the neighborhood. We do not need to leave the friendships. But we do deserve to bring in fresh. We deserve to bring in new. We deserve to bring in more joy and new experiences. So whether you go travel, whether you paint your room mango orange just to brighten it up, change out your yard, get rid of some stories of furniture that's attached. One of my biggest and most profound moments was when I had inherited the giant dining room table, the one with all the leaves. It also came with beautiful, ornate, needle pointed chairs that my grandmère, my dad's mom, had needle pointed for the family. Just gorgeous table, amazing chairs. Well, by the time years of moving at multiple homes after my divorce, the springs were going, the houses I was in just weren't big enough. I had one last house in Bellevue, Washington that I rented that was just huge, again, because it fit the table. It fit both the big tables. It fit the big jewelry armoire. It fit the big piano that I inherited. Like, I had all the big stuff, all the big things. Oh my God, the truck that we needed to take was crazy big. But it was so much about everybody else's stories. And then the cost of renting houses or buying homes that fit everything was crazy, crazy, crazy. But this one table I felt so obligated to. I felt like I have to. Mom only bought a house that fit the table, so I have to keep doing the same story over and over and over again. And then one day, my angels came to me as I was looking at this table, and they showed me a vision of my mom sitting at this beautiful table that had birthday celebrations, baptisms, graduations, and funerals and memorials. But that table held so many stories, and oh my gosh, the energy, the stories, they, meaning the stories, they, the people, the experiences were heavy, they were real. And then this vision of my angels. Sitting there was my mom in the dark, holding her wine. She loved to get her wine out of the box on top of the fridge and just have a little spigot. Now we kind of wonder, how much wine did mom drink to get through life? She was just sitting there in this vision, holding this glass, drinking her wine. Didn't even do a wine glass at that point. And she was crying and crying. And my mom didn't cry in public very much. She was crying in the dark. And there was just a slight light from the kitchen coming into her in this vision. And all of a sudden, it hit me. I had been hauling my mom's tears from house to house to house. I've been cutting bread. I've been serving my family. I was holding on to china that was enough to go around the table. I inherited my dad's mom, my grandma's china. I had all these things because I was holding all these stories. I was so proud to have all of this. And then I realized all I was doing was carrying my mom's tears from home to home. and I wasn't moving on. I wasn't growing. I wasn't developing my own stories. In that moment, I reached out to a friend who used to be our cleaning gal. And I said, I'm ready. You get to have it to give to somebody, because she sold items. She found a young family, fresh stories, fresh experiences. And I didn't have her pay me for them. I let her clean my home in exchange, because she loved to clean growing up. She was so excited to have that opportunity. She was able to make money. I was able to have a clean home. And the story of the table and those chairs moved on. That was very much a pivotal moment in my life that transformed everything. And a lot of those inherited items actually came in handy. So don't just get rid of things. There was a moment in a time when my children's father wasn't so inclined to cover expenses that were additional, when I was the one having to have the big house and he did not. I didn't have rent. I didn't have the means. And then my angels reminded me, they go, that big, huge painting, because you got the big artwork. And that one down in the basement that's a bunch of corn husk rolls of corn in it. It was super unattractive, super ornate frame. Nobody wanted it on the wall anywhere, but because I inherited the big house, I inherited the art that came with it that nobody took. Well, thankfully, my angels reminded me that that was hidden away in just an extra place in a big house I was paying way too much money for. And then I went online and I Googled and I found out that that piece of art was enough money to pay for rent for a month and groceries and my cell phone bill for an entire month. Somebody in Midwest United States had an art gallery that represented this artist, and I paid top dollar to ship it. I got the money for it. So in so many beautiful ways, this is the gift that kept on giving. The amazing ability of what my family gave to me, what I inherited, I used it for the right purpose, to continue to support my children and take care of my family and be there in the times of need. I had all this china that I had collected, and I got Grammair's china. None of the other family wanted it. It was part of the big house. There was a time I legally had to go deal with some unexpected from the ex. And guess what? I had to have a gentleman who bought antiques come into my home and give me money for the antique china, the antique little stirring tea set that Grammaire had passed on. And it paid for expenses. It bought my kids Christmas presents. So don't get rid of things too quickly. Don't just get rid of things to get rid of things. Take a moment, take the gratitude. In the upcoming handouts and homework, I'm going to have prayers for you and ways to release and let go. But the priority and the focus right now is about you. It's about you knowing that there are treasures in all of the chaos and the clutter. Giving yourself the gift of selling some items, giving yourself the gift to give to somebody, and they can trade you for a service. All of these things have a ripple effect. These stories are still in me. I no longer have those items. I have the freedom to say, I am a suitcase away from my next chapter. Get ready for the bonus tools and goodies for you. Most of all, I want to say thank you for being a part of this. Thank you for inviting me into your space. Thank you for encouraging and supporting the angels. Ooh, they had a whole lot they wanted to share this time. So I thank you for you. And I look forward to sharing more angel-led workshops, courses, and inspiration.